Idly-ho there, folks. Hope everyone's well. Hope life is treating you well. Welcome to the new year. First video of the new year. And I thought I'd get things off on the right foot by actually talking about a thing. And a stuff. And what have you. Right. Where was I? Oh, right. Things that I was going to talk to you about. I got as a Christmas gift an excellent bit. Here, I'll show it off. The Thevoynich Manuscript. Now, this is actual photocopies of the individual pages of the Thevoynich Manuscript. And it also has some commentary, some history on the Thevoynich Manuscript. Now, the Thevoynich Manuscript was found a few hundred years ago. Nobody knows who wrote it. Nobody knows what it says, because nobody can translate it. It has images of plants that don't exist. If you need an example of what a spell book should look like, go look up pictures of the Thevoynich Manuscript. And this led me to thinking about spellbooks. Spellbooks are interesting. And a sort of a standard to the fantasy genre. But one of the things that actually kind of bugs me about how spellbooks are handled in a lot of fantasy role-playing games, whether it's Savage Worlds, D&D, Pathfinder, what have you, is it's sort of a stand-in for your list of spells, right? It doesn't have character. It doesn't have a uniqueness. I don't know, a thing that makes it have character in and of itself. Spellbooks should be interesting. Now, my friend Colin McLaughlin, he has on his blog a list of spells that he did up, complete with flavor text. And the flavor text is what makes them particularly interesting. The spells are nice enough. I mean, there's only so much you can do with first and second level spells to make them truly just stand out. But what makes these really work, and they're excellent, they'll stand up with most any others, but what makes them really interesting is that he puts a lot of flavor text in there as well. I want my spell books to have character. I want my spells to have character. Bigby's Crushing Hand. I mean, Bigby was a character. He existed in the world. Mordenkainen existed in the world. These were interesting and fascinating characters, and their spells are tied to them. I want stories in my magic. I want my arcane abilities to be less, I don't know, less utilitarian, right? As much as I love the Eberron setting, and I do, I think it's amazing, it is very utilitarian in its treatment of magic. Magic is just a technology. It's got some cool, fascinating, arcane things off in the distance, and the, ancient empires and what have you, but ultimately, it's also a day-to-day utility. It's like electricity. And that's awesome for that setting. But in general, I want my magic to have stories. And I think spellbooks should have stories. Spellbooks should have character. They should have little notes scribbled in the margin saying, tried this once, it failed, did this other variation, came up with interesting results. Or the spell is written in the margins, followed by a story about how the spell was discovered, or something. It's got to have story. It's one of the things that I particularly loved about the Dust to Dust LARP that I helped work on, was that it had so many little bits of story inserted into the spells that they had in the world. People could actually piece together the story of some characters that were important to the overall history of the world by reading those spell books and piecing together the little stories that are found in the flavor text. Anyway, that's my thoughts on spell books. And it applies to pretty much any setting. Fantasy Age, D&Ds, Savage Worlds, what have you. If you've got spells and spell books as part of your setting, make them interesting in and of themselves. And that's on the players too. The players should have a prop for their spell book. And in that spell, they can have their stats for the spells, that's fine. You should, just for reference. But add some text there. Add something that makes it uniquely yours and uniquely interesting and part of the world, but also magical and has character. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Subscribe, like, share with people. Tell me what you think. Do you use the spell books? Or do you just sort of hand wave spell books? Thanks for watching. Like I said, check out the Patreon if you can. If you can't, I understand. Broke most of the time myself. But other than that, Happy New Year. And I will try and be in with interesting things to say. Talk to you later. Bye.